Political editor Michael Brissenden. The old wool town of Deniliquin near the Murray River in southwest New South Wales is the heart of what was once a thriving agricultural region. But like many other rural towns, its future is under threat. After years of drought, water levels in the Murray are at their lowest in more than a century, and with the federal government offering to buy back farmers' water allocations, some are giving up on agriculture altogether. Businesses that rely on trade from the farms are struggling to survive, prompting a mass exodus from the town. It's a malaise with implications for the nation's future food production, as Jayne Margetts reports.
Farmers around here feel like theirs is a natural disaster that's leading to death by 1,000 cuts.
The Prime Minister and Penny Wong aren't listening. They're not interested in feeding people.
We have to face up to the reality of a future where we're likely to see less water.
This is one of Australia's most productive regions, the Riverina in southwest New South Wales. The town of Deniliquin has enjoyed decades of prosperity on the back of the rice industry. Farmers were drawn here by an irrigation scheme they believed would make the region drought-proof. But now it's a different story.
Look, I think everyone's very tired. I think sometimes Adam feels a failure, which is hard. Our son is frustrated because he hasn't had an income for 3 years.
The Wettenhall family's been farming here for 30 years, but they've decided they can't go on. The worst drought in history means they've had no water for irrigation for 3 years. This year they're only promised a trickle. They're financially crippled by the fixed charges they're forced to pay for water they don't receive.
It's been incredibly tough. In fact, the last 3 years have just been negative income. We've had to pull the heads right in. We're not spending money on any machinery.
Unfortunately, in this town at the moment, there's a great sense of foreboding in terms of what is the future.
The pain felt on the land is now spreading to the town. This was the symbol of Deniliquin's prosperity, the largest rice mill in the southern hemisphere, capable of producing enough grain each day to feed 30 million people. But last year, hundreds of people lost their jobs when the mill closed.
Since the rice industry has stopped, we have had a mass exodus.
Deniliquin's Mayor Lindsay Renwick says businesses that rely on agriculture are experiencing an unprecedented downturn. As a result, he estimates 2 families are leaving town each week.
The hardest thing will be for us to get skilled people to come back when we need them.
Other families have been split up as the breadwinner leaves in search of work.
Do you know any of your friends who've left Deniliquin?
Friends left because they were working at the rice mill and they lost their jobs.
55 pupils have left this school in the past 4 years. The principal, Anne-Marie Hay, worries about the unseen impacts of the drought.
People are starting to feel desperate when your family unit is being split up to try and keep the family surviving in these critical times.
Real estate agent Lester Wheatley is chairman of the Murray Valley Community Action Group. He says it's not just a natural disaster.
Our drought is not only a God-made drought. Our drought is exacerbated by government policies, federal and state.
The water buyback, I suppose, is the straw that's breaking the camel's back.
The federal government is buying water directly from farmers to replenish the ailing Murray-Darling river systems. For some, it's a welcome cash grab to pay off mounting debt. Other farmers believe they're being exploited because the government is the only buyer and it sets the price.
The government say they're buying from willing sellers, but I think the only willing sellers here at the moment are completely desperate because it's the only way they can generate some form of cash flow.
The farmers are frustrated, hurt and know they're being exploited. And the reason they know they're being exploited is because they know, as the government knows, that after 10 years of drought, they're sitting ducks.
I do understand that people are concerned about this, but as a government, we think the responsible thing to do is to do what we said we'd do, which is to ensure we return water to the river.
We've got a lot of our staple foods, produced in this area. All we need is this beautiful water.
The big question now is just how will farms remain productive when the drought does break, if the federal government has bought the majority of its water.
If all the water goes out of this area, Australia will face food shortages going forward.
There has been absolutely no concern, no apparent concern by either state or federal government about what we're going to do about security for the future.
What we're doing is rolling out projects, putting funding on the table and seeking projects from the states and from irrigators that will ensure there will be efficiencies, that will ensure we can continue to produce, as I said, more crop per drop. That has to be the way forward.
Many believe the water buyback will cost the country hundreds of millions of dollars in lost food production and destroy regional areas.
I'm convinced that the government are just not the slightest bit interested. In fact, their attitude is more likely to be, well, it'll be natural attrition. If nobody lives in Deniliquin and everybody chooses to move to the coast, well, so be it.
For decades, the Exchange has been one of Deniliquin's popular watering holes, but now the pub, like so many other things, is up for sale. As their town continues to shrink, the people here warn that their problems will be felt right across the country and beyond.
Possibly control what's happening.
Is Deniliquin and other towns like it collateral damage?
I fear they may be.
People in Australia and throughout the world had also better be hoping that there's water for irrigation farming, because the food doesn't just fall on the supermarket shelves. It has to be grown, and it's regions like this that are the food bowl of Australia that provide that food.
Jayne Margetts reporting from Deniliquin. American satirist P.J.